Alrighty then guys, welcome back. Welcome to the channel. My name is Litelisius, and today guys, we are going to be talking about which one of the projects that we've done was most profitable. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but let's refresh the memory. We did 50 tower maps to hunt a nurse, 25 underground sea maps to hunt a hoarder, 25 precinct maps, right guys, to hunt the Saint's treasure, and 100 spider force to hunt both the doctor and of course the scout. Now, the question was kinda, which one of these maps is most profitable? In order to kinda calculate that, you first save the data, and then you extrapolate everything to 100. That means the data of the tower gets counted times 2, and the underground sea and the precinct gets counted times 4. That brings you to an accurate kinda comparison which one of these maps is most valuable, right, most profitable, within a certain snapshot of the league's economy. Hi 91DNY, how are you doing? Not just that guys, not just that. I also kept calculating, because guys, you gotta think like this. What happens when the headhunter goes up, right? We've seen it at 125 easily. And what does it mean? What are the calculations if, if your headhunter is at 125? And what happens, if we want to break even? Which one of these maps is best, and what would you need to do to shift in the economy to make things break even? Even more important, what if we exclude divine orbs? Because guys, divine orbs might not always be a good way to go. All these things I put together in the fucking spreadsheet from hell. Let's take a look. So guys, in 50 towers we got 1412 divines, right? Now, at that point, like we said, we are snapshotting the league's economy from the first test, which was tower. The rate in Exalt was 1 in 14. That means you pay 1 Exalt for 14 of these. Now, that means that at 1412 dropped, you get 101 Exalt out of that. We also dropped 55 nurses. The headhunter at that point, the snapshot was 83.3 Exalts. Right, that puts our nurses at 1.3 each, because 1.3 times 64, total sats needed for a headhunter, equals 83.3. Now that 55 times 1.3 each put us at 71.5 Exalt from that. We also dropped 46 Exalt pure from the tower tests, which is a total of 218.5 Exalt. Now of course you gotta extrapolate that times 2, because Spider Force was a 100 map dataset, and that puts you at 437 Exalt. That's the total kinda profit that we had, or profit drop that we had. Precinct, 25 maps, 664, right? Divided by 14, the 1 in 14 rate on the Divines, 47.5 Exalts. 189 Saint's Treasures, at 0.2 Exalt each, puts you at 37.8. 21 pure Exalts is 21 pure Exalts, for a total of 106.3 Exalts. Now of course, you gotta extrapolate that again to the dataset of 100 maps. That means times 4, and that puts you at 425.2 Exalts total from Precinct. Underground Sea, same thing, 785 divided by 14, 56 Exalt in Divines. And watch this one guys, because this one is pretty crazy. We had 414 the Hoarders at 0.0833 each, put you at 34.5 Exalt profit, right, or Exalt from those cards. Plus 33 pure Exalts. The amount of Exalts from Underground Sea pure was insane. More about that later. So that puts you at 123.5 Exalts in those 25 maps. Extrapolate times 4 is 494 Exalts, which is absolutely insane. Check it versus the other ones. And I double checked this, it's very nice. Spider Forest times 100, no extrapolation needed. 2639 divines divided by 14, 188.5 Exalts total. 9 doctors at 10.4 each. 10.4 is if the Headhunter is 83.3, which we snapshotted, puts you at 93.6. 53 times the scout at 0.875 each, 46.4, plus 78 pure exalts is 406.1, which remains 406.1 because it's 100 maps. Now guys, look at this. The worst map was the map that statistically could have been the best because you have the doctor and the scout. That was the worst map. And the second worst map was precinct. But the difference between precinct and tower isn't all that bad, right? It's not that crazy. A slight change, could have changed that. A little more exalt, so I would say almost the same. But Underground Sea is stupid. It's really stupid. More about that later. So I did some hypothetical calculations, right? Like I said, guys, we need to do a few of these. So one of the hypothetical calculations that I wanted to do was, what if we don't count any divines? Well, then you are looking at, I'm not going to say all the numbers again, for tower 235, for precinct 235.2, look at that. That's damn near even, like really. But again, Underground Sea 270 and Spider Force 217. So again, Spider Force worst. Now we're going to do a hypothetical, Headhunter at 125 exalt, which does kinda happen at some stages in the league, versus the 83.3 snapshot that we took. So let's say the Headhunter was at 125, right? At that point, all of a sudden, Tower wins and then some, right? You get Tower at 306.8, Precinct at 235.2, doesn't change of course. Underground Sea doesn't change, Spider Force changes as well. But again, Spider Force, not even at 125, would beat Underground Sea. Right? So, Underground Sea again stands out. Tower, like we said guys, if the Headhunter goes up, Tower is insane. Tower is gonna be awesome. Now, you kinda wonder what happens to break even, right? So, if you look at the Headhunter in the market, what price would Headhunter need to be for Tower to be as good as Underground Sea in the test that we did? Well, we did some calculations on that. To break even, the Headhunter price rate between the two best maps, excluding Divine Orbs, my bad guys, the Headhunter would need to be at 103.6 or 103.7, because if you divide that by 64, which is the total nurse price, right, you'd be at 1.62 per nurse, times 55 would be 89.1, plus the 46 pures, puts you at 135.1, times 2 extrapolation puts you at 270.2, which is the 270 you see in Underground Sea. That means, guys, with Headhunter, with the dataset that we have and with the things that we did, right, with the 60% quantity, very important to say that, and the Omega juice that we did, which was everything winged and everything elevated on sextants if we needed it, with 6 map mods around 30 pack size. If the Headhunter drops below 103.68, Underground Sea wins in these tests. Now I know in order to make a conclusion like that, you need a much bigger sample size. But having said that, it is kinda logical that Underground Sea is doing as good as it does. The reason for that is, you can see how many exalts it drops, right? It's much more than 1 per map. All the other ones couldn't break 1 per map, right? Just couldn't. Some got close, but none of them actually broke the 1 and 1. The reason Underground Sea breaks 1 and 1 is probably because of the node on the tree that gives beyond monsters a 25% chance to drop an additional currency item. Which, guys, Underground Sea and its crampy dampy layout, there is no way enemies are not beyond. If that makes any sense. It is all so tightly packed. It is a pretty dense map, and everything that happens is going to be beyond. Which kind of brings us back to Spider Forest here, guys. Because Spider Forest, there was some anomalies in these maps. And some of them I could kind of explain, and some of them I really couldn't. Now, the consistency of especially the divine orbs in Underground Sea was noteworthy. You are getting between 28 and 32, 33 pretty much every map. Now of course you have these extremes, but it was almost on the dot the same. The one map that had the least consistent divine drops by far was Spider Forest. Now it's not that Spider Forest is doing bad, that's not the point, but there is a reason why Spider Forest had that inconsistent data for the divine orbs. And again, it has to do with Beyond. Now, unique monsters drop corrupted items is why we get the sixlings, which we can then convert to, the divines. And Spider Force is a pretty large layout, and it's open, but it's also large, if that makes any sense. So if you look at Underground Sea, it's not that large, and everything is small and packed, right? Tower has multiple floors, but again, everything is kinda packed together. The Spider Forest is kind of the exception because you have kind of a large map with a lot of open areas. Now, I kept racking my brain as to what is going on. What is going on with this? Why is Spider Forest sometimes giving me 45, which it gave, which is very high, and sometimes 13? That is a too big kinda difference. And I figured it out when I started kind of looking at the mechanics. We are looking at breaches, we are looking at abysses, and we're looking at alva. Now alva really doesn't matter where it is at the map. But what does matter, guys, is breaches and abysses. Now a breach opens up more in Spider Force, so you'd expect more monsters, more beyond. No. That isn't the case. You'd expect that, but that isn't the case. Yes, that is the case if you're looking at a breach by breach comparison. But if you're looking at Underground Sea with not a lot of room for these breaches to kind of spread out, the chances of these breaches overlapping, of these mechanics being close together, is huge. And this is the key. If one of these breaches in Spider Force is at the top of the map, one is at 25%, one is at 50, one at 75 and one at 100% lengthwise, these breaches are too far apart for the beyond portals that they might spawn to kinda merge, if that makes any sense. So the problem is that these mechanics are too far spread out. So yes, the mechanics themselves spawn more monsters easily, which is why we saw that Spider Forest on average had the highest loot count at the bottom left corner of the screen. But because everything was so spread out and the mechanics themselves were so spread out, creating Beyond was more difficult than, let's say, in Tower or in Underground Sea. Tower, again, some anomalies there, had kind of the nasty habit to put almost all of its mechanics on the first floor. Now that created some crashes for us, you guys have seen that, but it also created loot. Lots of loot, because if you have just one floor with 3 breaches, 2 abysses and a blight, then pretty much every inch of that floor becomes beyond portals. And that is kind of why Spider Forest kind of pissed next to the pot instead of into the pot, because sometimes in Spider Forest you had like a lot of these mechanics centralized, like in the middle of the map, and then it spit 45 divines. And sometimes all of these mechanics like Breach and Abyss got spread out and you got almost no divines. And it kinda baffled me for a little while until I saw that. Until I saw some specific examples as to what happened in there. So I would say, guys, especially in the next league, if you don't kinda have all that uber juice, Underground Sea is the way to go if you can get beyond. And why? Because of the rarity of the nurse, which is not super rare, but still kinda rare, versus the rarity of the hoarder, which isn't rare at all. That means in order to get a good number of nurses, the juice has to be stronger than a good number of hoarders in comparison. So guys, I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about these numbers? What kinda, comes to mind when you look at this? I've done the hypotheticals, because sometimes we just have nothing Like, we don't have any divines, because it's like, what? You get like 1 Exalt for like 50 of them at the start of the league. So I didn't count divines on some of them. And then I did a hypothetical on Headhunter versus the 83.3 snapshot. And of course, guys, the break-even price. Now keep in mind, all of this, I do mean all of this, is juiced the same way. We have the same scarabs, the same sextants, and the same 60% quantity gear. I changed absolutely nothing. Now, if you guys want to, I can kind of upload this picture and you guys can download it from some kind of a link and kind of mess around with it yourself. By the way, welcome CZ Max. I'm sorry guys that I'm not responding to the chat just now. I'm trying to get all these stats done. I will get back to you guys. But yeah, everything got just super juiced, right? It's all the same. And every time we see the Underground Sea win, even if we put Headhunter at 125 exalts, Underground Sea is still coming relatively close versus Pre-Sync, right? And it still beats Spider Force, even though the Doctor would be 15.6 exalts. It still beats it. So guys, again, my advice, Underground Sea. I shit you not, because I don't expect Headhunter to be extremely expensive next league. Now, a few things that we need to say here. First off, we will get the Apothecary. It'll be stupid rare. I have no idea how expensive that card will be. Nobody has. It kinda depends on what the Mage Blood will do because of the release of that card. Right guys? Now, the Mage Blood will go down, but I expect the same for Headhunter, because I don't know if there is a nerf in there or not, but I kinda feel there is, because the long lists of rare mods are kinda gone, and we can only have one of each specific mod as a Headhunter. Now, VangePK kinda says there is a small problem because not all maps make the most out of the same type of juice. True and not true. Like I was explaining, Spider Force makes more out of breaches because it has more room to spread those monsters around. Yet it gives you less total drops because those breaches will be farther apart. And our main source of income here, guys, guess what? Beyond. In this specific test, it was Beyond. Tower breaches, he says, are horrible. Well, the tower breaches were better than the Spider Force breaches, again, because they were tightly packed together. So you would get overlapping Beyond portals. Now, I fully agree, if we exclude Beyond from this test, the results would be vastly different. Like, very different. But we had 42% Beyond on each map. We had everything elevated on the sextant. Right guys? So we had elevated Beyond 8%, double breach, we had alva, and we had unique monsters drop corrupted items. Where possible, we changed alva for +2 abyss as well. So 42% Beyond is kinda big. And if you're looking at Underground Sea, the map for Beyond, by far, you can see it in both the Exalts and the Divines, that is where it wins. Now, if I would exclude Beyond from all of this, I honestly don't know what would happen. Underground Sea would probably lose its power and then some, because I feel that the way Underground Sea is pooping loot is largely in part because of Beyond, because there is no way there is no Beyond. Everything will be close together. And because of these crooked kinda layout, kinda, you know, corridors, like these lines in the map, your sparks can go nowhere. So again, you are not off screen killing enemies. It is impossible. It's all small kinda, right? So not just do you have more Beyond because everything is close together, but you're also incapable of killing enemies that would be incapable of spawning Beyond. Right? The bonuses go on and on and on. That makes Underground Sea the star of this task, guys. So yeah, I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you think about these numbers? And what do you think about the observations that I kind of, you know, put on those? I mean, the numbers kind of do speak for themselves, but guys, it's... Oh, you can make the spreadsheet if you want to. I mean, I will make this available for you guys. I'll upload it, and you know, you guys can just tinker with the stats. But again, guys, I want you to keep a couple of things in mind. Very important. How much juice do you need to get these results? CZ Max 667. Are you asking me what the price per map was? Because I think that's important, right? And it's not in here, so my apologies for that. So the price per map is 2.2 snapshotted. Now, what that means is, just like I snapshotted the divines at 1 and 14, and the nurses at 1.3, I also snapshotted the map costs based on what we spent per map on the first test. The reason I did this is because while we were doing the last test, the divines were 1 and 10, but the doctors and the nurses went down significantly. I think it's only at 1.1 now or something. And the doctors are like at 9x or 8.5 even, so went down a lot. And that's why I said I'm going to snapshot everything. Right from that first test, I'm snapshotting divines, but also map costs. So map costs was at 2.2. That means you gotta subtract 220 off of each of these times extrapolated. So this would be a 217 profit. This would be a 225.2. This would be a 294, and this would be a 206.1. Now, one more thing to keep in mind, the things we didn't count. Sextant, ancient orbs, cluster jewels, the interrogation, enlightens, empowers, the dragon's heart. All of those things we did not count, guys. The real profit is far higher, but the point wasn't to kinda keep track of every alteration that dropped. The point was to kinda keep track of the things you are targeting specifically with these strategies. And you're specifically targeting the divines, the divination cards, and of course pure exalts. And there is a disclaimer I gotta give you guys on the Spider Forest. Now, the Spider Forest was the only map in which I couldn't, for the life of me, gather 500 foreboding Delirium orbs, which has skewered the results of the Exalted orbs, for sure. Now, having said that, I don't even believe if he would have hit 1 in 1, right, you can do the calculations with me, even if he would have hit 1 in 1, that would have been 22 Exalts extra. So that would have barely beaten Precinct. It would not have beaten Tower, and it would not have beaten Underground C. And Tower and Underground C both did have foreboding Delirium orbs, and even they did not hit 1 in 1. That's why I say, even then, no. Right? So Spider Force is the worst. Now, having said that, guys, RNG is RNG. If I would have dropped 11 Doctors, which would have been that 1 in 8 that I kind of expected, or 12 Doctors, like 3 more, that would be 30x more. But again, guys, that would have barely beaten Precinct, and not even then beaten Tower. Even if I would have had 12 Doctors, Tower would have still won. And I would need a hell of a lot more Doctors to beat Underground C. So what does it all mean? Well, guys, it kinda depends on the next league. If you can squeeze enough Beyond, if you can squeeze enough monster pack size, Underground C is it. Because I don't see Headhunter going to 125 exalts. I don't think it's even going to be at 103.68, which is the theoretical break-even point that you would need. But guys, you also gotta kinda think in the back of your brain, we will not have the same juice early on. Now, to kinda theorize, and that's difficult, which one of these maps would be best with less juice, I kinda feel, again, under similar circumstances, at least with Beyond, it's going to be Underground Sea. Because the items that we're hunting there don't rely on a hell of a lot of juice. I mean, 414 uber juiced versus 55 nurses uber juiced. So I'm kinda getting the feeling it's always going to be Underground Sea if you can muster the Beyond on it. So yeah, guys, I promised you guys the numbers, but it's all just an indication, because there is a difference between me doing this solo the way I did it, and you guys maybe doing it in a team. There is a difference between the 60% quantity or not. And there is definitely the difference in the juice, but I'm thinking, now I might be wrong here, just a hunch, that lowering the juice will make the maps with the less rare cards be even more dominant. Because in terms of chances of dropping the really rare ones like the Doctor, that goes down significantly. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. And again, if we're looking at the Underground Sea, I know it's just my test, right? And results will always vary, but the difference is extreme. It's not like it's close. I would say Tower Precinct could be kinda close. If I had a bit more luck with Spider Forest with the Doctor could be close, right? You would have a very clean Tower Precinct Spider Forest contest. But guys, the Underground Sea is just blowing it away, and then some. So I know what I'll be doing. If I can get that Beyond going again, you're gonna find me in the Underground Sea next league, guys. But first, we have to get going, guys. This is pretty much the last remnant of all the tests I've done with you guys. Thank you again very much for watching. And I felt, it was kind of obligated to show this to you, because it will still be an indication for next league, I feel. So with that being said, let's see what you guys kind of think about this. What do you feel about this, guys? Do you feel I made kind of the right call, Underground Seas? Because everybody kind of already knew it, right? Everybody kind of already knew that I said it. Underground Sea, I just have a feeling it's going to be the best. From the get-go, it was so insane. It was just literally shitting it. Now keep in mind, guys, the numbers that we've gotten from radar snares are even more frightening, to give you guys an indication as to what would have happened if we would have run this in a group. Now, of course, you have to extrapolate that to everything. I don't think we can do that just quickly, but look at this. So if we do the stats description again, and you look at Underground Sea, what does it mean? Well, that means that in 25 maps you dropped 785 divines, which is an average of 31.4. That's huge. But that's just me on my own, right? If you would do something like this in a group, yeah. But not just that, we dropped 414 hoarders, which is an average of 16.5, right guys? So 100% Delirium, by the way, CZ max. I'm sorry if I didn't say yet. Yeah, 5 Delirium orbs, and pretty much all of these tests were forebodings, except for the last test, in which I needed to mix max a little bit. Because there was no way we could get 500 forebodings that late league. Returning to the hoarders, I got an average of 16.5. Now, not Venge PK, Radar Snares kinda said that he was getting up to 28. Between 26 and 28 average with his team. Guys. Imagine how crazy that would be for Underground Sea. That's insane. Do I imagine we would get similar results with 40 Delirium? well, that's interesting. We actually did a test with 100% delirium versus 20% delirium. And both maps were almost identical. 32% pack size, 104% quantity, and the same conqueror. And I kinda expected the results to be, what's it called? Yeah, we did that test. Well, we kinda expected the results to be very far apart. I was thinking, okay, there is no way that it's even going to be close. Guess what? The 20% delirium map did better. But, and this is a big but, guys, I got lucky there. I dropped a doctor on that specific 20% delirium map, which we didn't have in 23 maps. So, right, that is some rare shit to have happened there. But, looking at the divines, that map gave us 22 divines, which wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it wasn't anything, it was just about the same. And here comes the kicker, guys. Yes, you will get less simulacrum splinters, makes sense. Yes, you will have less chance of the interrogation and you will get less bosses, right? The delirium bosses goes to zombiephobia. But I kinda feel that the reason we got less loot overall from it, because you do get less loot rewards, making sense as well, is because of 20% delirium. Those monsters are way weaker than 100% delirium map, meaning I killed them off screen and then some. Less beyond, less loot. So I kind of theorize, and I'm going to test this next league when my build isn't as strong as it is now. I kind of theorize that if you do a 20% delirium map and your build can kind of barely handle it the way I could barely handle the 100% delirium maps, the loot might actually be very similar. Yes, less simulacrum splinters and all that stuff, but everything else, probably very similar. And that's good news. That means the build doesn't have to be stupid expensive to kind of get this going. So yeah, guys, I would say the kind of keywords here are... oh, I did lower the DPS 91 DNY. No, not even kidding. This build was at 110 million DPS. Right now it's at 21 million DPS. I lowered the DPS specifically to get more loot off of each map. And you guys can see that in the record breaking attempts that I did on YouTube. So, but next league, guys, trust me, there will be even lower DPS, because we're not going to start with all the stuff we have right now, which lands next league perfect for a 20% delirium test. We have the numbers here, guys. We have the numbers. Oh yeah, way lower. I would say I need to put it at maybe 6 or 7 million actual output instead of 20 million, which could be done on a budget. And that means, yes guys, you can do this on a budget. Now I gotta be careful when I say on a budget, it's still not, you know, cheap. But, yeah. So guys, we have an indication. What is a budget? 100x. Well, I'm gonna have to be kind of a bit of a, you know, bit of an asshole here, I'm sure. But look at this. Now, theorizing, right, guys? Theorizing. These are 1000 Exalt gloves. So somebody said a 5 link or a 6 link or something. Wear them all three, right? One goes around your waist, Venge PK, one goes around your neck, and one goes around, you know, your third leg, if that makes any sense. There's always room for three. Where was I? Oh yeah, so we have these gloves. Somebody said put it on a 5 link, impossible, because the gloves themselves are more than 5 links. So, the problem is, right now these gloves are about 1000 Exalt. Now, do you need it? No. You can do this perfectly on a 6 link, and you'll be fine next league. You don't need a headhunter. You don't need a grasping mail. You don't need a Ashes of the Stars, as you can see, because I've been running with this. You don't need crazy boots, I've been running with this. In terms of the nebulous, if you don't use Magic Find, and those magic fine rings, but you kind of have some extra damage there. You can use any basic nebulas. You don't need to go crazy like this. Now, a couple of the things that we have theory crafted that we can remove next league is both the Forbidden Flash and Flames, at least Righteous Providence, and even this, right, the Traitor, because I might be going for Mage Blood next league. Now, I hear you guys think, you asshole, you just said budget. I did, because like I said, you don't need Mage Blood and you don't need Headhunter. You can run this perfectly on a Stygian Vice, which I will show at the start. Hey Ducky PM, how are you doing, buddy? So yeah, guys, next league, like I said, I will be starting as a Stormbrand character, and I will transition into this at some point. And when I transition, I don't want to be like a school teacher, but kind of pay attention, because the first transition I do is what I kind of believe to be the cheapest way this build can work. So that's what I would call budget. It'll still not be super cheap, but we know that this build will go to a few thousand exalts, especially with the things we have available next league. Awakened and Power, guys. Awakened and Lighten and Enhance. Holy hell, right? I mean, come on. Hybridizing items. We need mirrors next league, right? If we want to kind of really min-max, it's going to be expensive. Can I quickly calculate the profit per map from the underground? What do you mean? Oh yeah, sure. Hold on. Let's go back to the stats with everybody here, guys. Ta-da! So with underground seas, that's 494, right, guys? In the extrapolated version. So what you kind of do at that point is you say the 494 minus the cost minus the 220 is 274. And of course you divide that by 100, putting you at 2.74 exalt per map, but that's not entirely true. Because guys, that's 2.74 with just what we took here. If you are also calculating everything else, I'm gonna say that you are going to at least double your money, but more than likely close to triple your money, because you do get those big drops as well, right? The big clusters, the interrogation, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna say that you're gonna make between 3.5 and 4 exalt profit per map on the underground sea. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, like I said, there is a difference between running on your own and running in a group. I'm pretty sure if I run that map, Underground Sea, in a group, the numbers would be kinda difficult and kinda hard to keep up with. So yeah, guys, I kinda wanted to share this with you. If you guys have any questions, you know, I'm gonna put my Discord here as well for you guys. Hold on. Just add me, you know, if you have any questions about the numbers, if you want any advice, if you want anything like that, let me know. Right, guys? I will always try to help, and I might not respond right away, but I will when I can. So having said that, guys, there will be no more playing this character this league. I kind of told you that already. What we will be doing is still doing a dry run, in, you know, I think in 2 days. Tomorrow I will be continuing remodeling the home. And yeah, I'm really excited for next league. I'm fucking ready to go. I don't know about you guys, but man, I see so much potential. We're gonna get this character even stronger. And I do mean a lot stronger. So guys, any questions? I put the Discord in there, you can just whisper me. I hope these kind of numbers were kind of clear and showed kind of, you know, how crazy that underground sea was. But again, guys, Yeah. Yeah, I saw the Arch-Nemesis mod that turns off flasks, but I kind of want to know how that interacts with Mage Blood. I think with Mage Blood that's going to be not happening. Might overwrite it. And if that's the case, then even if we do have the Apothecary, Mage Blood might be even more expensive. See? There you go. Kinda thought that. So guys, no, he doesn't mean the Mage Blood per map. He means he dropped like 7, 8 or 9 Mage Bloods, and you can divide that by the numbers of maps that he had. So if you have like 1,000 maps run, or 2,000 maps run, but you have 2,600 Exalts and Mage Bloods, then that means 2.6 Exalt per map. That's kind of what he means. But, you know, he has to take into consideration that he's running 5 man, and he has to split that by 5, and all of a sudden the profit might not be that good. So, yeah. Well, he got a hell of a lot of Mage Bloods, and that's just the Mage Bloods. He also dropped Headhunters, he dropped Squires, and I'm sure he dropped a gazillion Nurses as well. So yeah, no, just theorizing, Vange PK. I'm not saying that was just theorizing. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will put this on YouTube as well, so you guys can watch the numbers there too. Kinda, you know, take your time. Do the breakdown of it yourself and kind of print screen all these numbers if you would want to. If you guys have any questions, like I said, the Discord, I'll put it in here again. It's going to be
did I
in
get
here.
back just in time for the end?
You're just in time for the end, dude. So yeah, just whisper me there, and guys, thank you very much. And in a few days, I'm going to take a few days rest for myself, but also because we need to remodel the home. In a few days, I will still be doing profile. Hold on a second before I go. I will also be doing another dry run, because I got a lot of information on YouTube on how to kind of do this better. By the way, welcome Watson1337 to the chat. Welcome, buddy. That's the profile, by the way, buddy. Yeah, so in a few days I will be back doing a dry run and hoping that I can do a bit better than I did this time. But to be honest, guys, I did it on a 3 link and on a 4 link, and I think it went quite smooth. The time it took is due to me being an old slow fuck and not due to being the build. That isn't bad in any way. It's very smooth. So you guys can check that out as well. I put the full dry run on YouTube as well, guys. Same name, Lethal Easiest as the Twitch. Check it out there, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. If you guys have any questions, find me, right, guys? Have a great night, and I'll catch you in a few days for another dry run. Good night, guys.